Welcome to another special episode of 3rd and 3. I'm Jason Holcomb, joined by our coach, Coach Holmes, and our assistant head coach, Nick Collins. We're giving a bunch of tips for parents and student athletes to hopefully prepare them and at the best opportunity to be successful when they move on to the next level. Coach Collins, we're going to lean your direction today with your college experience, and we want to talk about two things in particular. Having that good visit, when an athlete gets the opportunity to go visit a campus and how to make it the most successful. And then secondly, when the college folks are coming their direction, we had over the last couple of years, we've had some Division I athletes, multiple for the football team. And that means we've had everybody. We've had former ESPN talents. We've had head coaches from across the country come and visit the Shamrock Bowl. And for you as a college coach, as a former college coach, talk about those two areas, starting with the student athlete having a good visit to a campus. What are some things that can prepare them to have a good visit?
Well, Jason, I think it's awareness. When you're on a college visit, there's a lot of walking and talking. There's a lot of meeting people. And the one thing that you're constantly watching as a college coach is how that person interacts with the other people around you, and how much attention they pay to their surroundings, what you're presenting, and what you're telling them. If you could give them a test at the end, you'll be surprised to find out how some of them pay a lot of attention and some of them don't pay much attention to you at all. So you want to make sure that person is attentive. What do they do when you introduce them to their position coach? What do they do when you introduce them to a counselor? What do they do if they meet the school president? Those things are all important. How do they interact with guys on the team? Because you're going to pair them with a player on the team with a visit. Then you're going to ask that player, what did he do? What did he say? How did he act? All those things are really important when you go on a visit.
Now, sliding over the other direction, when we have recruiters and coaches, and obviously there's certain guidelines and regulations that come into play. You can't just have anybody showing up to the campus any time of the day or week. There's certain periods of time, and we're not going to get into those today. Those are things you can find on the web. But particularly when we are in that sweet spot where people can come and take a look at some of our student athletes, what does that athlete need to be doing, and what do our sports programs need to be doing to make sure that the visit is impactful?
Well, Jason, believe it or not, it's really a lot of little things. The first thing is be at school. You'll be surprised the number of times I go on campus as a college coach and recruit a kid and he didn't come to school that day. So the first thing is be at school. The second thing, again, is social skills. When you walk in the room, how does that player present himself? How is he dressed? When you introduce yourself, how does he introduce himself? Does he say, "Hi, my name is," and shake your hand with a firm handshake and look you in the eye? Or does he just stick his hand out, put his head down, don't say anything? Because, and Coach can elaborate on this in a minute, a lot of the other questions are already asked. And then they're going to ask you questions. And how direct are you? How are your grades? How is your family? How did you play? They're going to ask you those direct questions, and how you answer them goes a long way, because the last thing, again, is you want to make sure that you're getting somebody that sociably is going to be able to handle the setting you're ready to put them in.
Yeah, Coach Holmes, talk about that for a second from the standpoint of, as you're the coach, you're somewhat of a liaison, so to speak, when these recruiters come through, and, what makes it easier for you as that middleman to make sure that when that opportunity presents itself, that it can be successful? I know for you, you have really solid relationships with all of your players, but you're also not a dishonest person. I've heard you before be straight up with college recruiters and say, well, I love him to death, but he's got to do some extra work in the classroom to make things happen. Talk about that for a second.
Well, Jason, just like Coach Collins said, when a college coach walks into my door is always open. My coaching staff, they do a great job. We've got a recruiting list laid out. It's got every kid's contact information, their name, their phone number, their Twitter account, their email, all of that information. We want to be able to hand that guy as soon as he walks in our office, because that makes his job easy. Now, the second thing is I always try to spend a few minutes with that coach. I'm trying to build some relationship. If I've known the guy for a while, that's easy. If it's his first time in our building, it's a little bit different. And what I mean by that is I want to build a relationship with that college coach that if I tell him a kid is 6'2", then he's 6'2". You'll be surprised at the number of people that say, oh, he's 6'2", 270. I had a coach come in my office last year and we were talking, and he said, Coach, every one of those kids were exactly what you said they were. And I said, well, yeah. I tell our players all the time, I'm not going to lie to anybody for you, because the key is building that trust. So the first thing that happens when I start telling them how tall a kid is or how much he weighs, how are they going to believe his 40 time if he walks in and he's 3 inches shorter than what I told him? And this coach
right.
Flew on a trip, flew 500 miles to go see a prospect that he had his information online, and he said he was 6'2". He said, Coach, I went 500 miles. I get there, I walk in the office, and the kid's 5'11". Well, he's never going back to that school. So being upfront, being honest, and spending some time with those coaches, I think getting them to tell you what they're looking for is important. Because, Coach Collins will tell you, they may not be looking for one linebacker. Every team has their needs that year. What is the specific area they're looking for if we have somebody that thinks? If I don't know anything about their school, Jason, first thing I ask them is, what's your academics? What do you require? Because although the NCAA has these minimum lists, a lot of times the schools are higher. Example, just a school that just popped off the top of my head. Furman University is not going to let a kid into Furman that they could let in based on the minimum eligibility requirements from NCAA. But Furman's standards are much higher than that. Georgia Southern standards. If you don't make an 18 or 19 on the ACT score, they're not going to let that kid into their school, even though they're still qualified. They don't. Every school has different. So you got to know that. So being honest with them. And then for me, after we visited and we've talked about the kids, I always try to get the kids over to my office. I hope they come recruiting when the kids are in weightlifting. So sometimes we'll walk them into the weight room, or I'll call over to the school and say, hey, can you have these 3 kids? It may not be every student athlete that I think is a prospect come at that time. Why? Because I know that he's so far off academically from what they require, there's no reason to waste that time. So matching the player up with the coach, and I generally always try to make sure I'm in the office when the first time those people meet, because sometimes our kids are like anybody else. They don't know exactly what they want to say to this stranger, and kind of help break the ice a little bit.
That's good, though. We don't want people just talking to strangers. That means they learned right. All the kids in my house, you're not supposed to talk to strangers. You got to be worried when them kids just start offering it up to anybody.
That's it. So that's
well, Coach,
the way it runs from our end.
I do want to say that Guy Cochran, you just made his day by bringing up Furman. I'm sure he's going to be a very excited person there, one of our alums, and actually was the father of Ben Cochran, who's a 2006 state champion, along with these 2 men. Now is a fighter pilot. God bless him for that. Appreciate his service. But we want to thank all of you for tuning in today. Want to especially thank Coach Collins for offering his college perspective. We're going to have some more topics coming up in the next couple weeks. Please stay tuned. Help to share and like all of this stuff. We want to make sure that all of our kids are aware of all of this that's in front of them, so that hopefully everyone who has the chance can take advantage of the chance and make the most of it. Thanks for watching 3rd and 3.